Morning. My name is Zemenfes, and I work for the National Higher Education and Research Institute. I've been involved in these projects mainly at the level of coordination. And what I want to share with you today is more or less provide you with a background information concerning as to how the National Higher Education and Research Institute conceives partnership and what are our approach to this kind of partnership, what are our philosophies, our approach, and our perspectives on partnership and collaborative ventures. We have had quite a number of such similar cooperation ventures with many other universities, both in Africa and in other parts of the world. And what I'm going to present is for our experience with all those partnerships. It's not necessarily limited to our experience with the 5 Finnish projects, but I want to give you a global picture of our partnership, with other parts, and what we have learned, from these partnerships, how we have been developing the concept of partnership, and most importantly, what exactly are from our experience, the factors that make projects either fail or succeed. And these are the points that I would like, to stress in my presentation. There are only a few, a lot bothering with all. A lot of details, but I will just have tried to select a few points that might be relevant and providing as a background setting for what Sini is going to present with respect to the 5 projects. Now, the first thing that I want to discuss is what is partnership and what makes it successful. This is more or less the core presentation that we are with. And then Sini will try to provide against that. Sini will try to set, the 5 projects and see you can do the matching now between what I'm going to present and what Sini is going to present, and we'll leave the judgment to you. So what a partnership is and what it makes successful. Now, as far as we are concerned, as you all know, a linkage partnership is always a two-way relationship. 3 or 4, 5, partners might come together and try to do things together on common areas of interest, and therefore, for partnership, to be effective and meaningful, the parties must have, common goals. They must have, common mandates, and they must come to understand to work together. Certain activities, jointly. So having common goals, having common visions, having common missions, having common interests, and most important, the commitment to mobilize the resources, expertise, and do those things together is what is often taken, as a partnership. Now, basically, as far as we are concerned, partnership has to be, why do we engage in this kind of partnership? Because we believe that partnership, as it is, means working together as partners, has certain advantages. When we do things together, and when these things are based on the priority needs that we have identified, so we often find that the results are more effective. The results, we do things, more efficiently than doing things, alone, than doing things, individually. And they yield better results, and therefore they will have also, better impact. And most of the time, because doing things together is more effective and more efficient, there is also quite a lot in terms of reduction of cost, reduction of effort, reduction of time in achieving the goals and the objectives that we set. And this exactly for this reason that we value partnership, and this is the reason why we are always prepared, to work with our partners. Now, mostly, particularly in the institutions of higher education, what we do in partnership is we mobilize skills, we mobilize expertise, we mobilize knowledge, and we mobilize resources in order to achieve the common vision and the common mission that we share with our partners. Unless there is a common vision and a common mission and a common goal shared, I don't think any partnership will work in any way. It's bound to fail sooner than later. Now, coming to partnership between training and research institutions, what exactly have been our observation? What exactly have been our experiences, through all of them? And we have had, quite a lot of partnership with many places. To the best of my recollection, we have had, more than 20 different collaborative ventures with various entities, and therefore, what we have found is that this kind of partnership encourages and enables, us and the partners, to work on mutually, agreed teaching, training, research, and other initiatives that the partners may have, identified themselves and agree to work together. And through this partnership, we try to promote academic activities. And as you know, any institution of higher education has 3 missions, and these are, teaching, research, and community services. And these are, the main services or the main missions that we want tomorrow to promote. And we see this as our intellectual goals, overall. And then, now we have also found that partnerships significantly strengthen efforts to achieve, objectives of mutual interest. Mutuality is very important. I will try to emphasize this point, and that's why we also say that partnership has to be a two-way relationship, a two-way interaction, rather than a unilateral or unidirectional, cooperation. Now, we have seen that partnership involves a strong commitment. This is very important. Commitment not in words, but commitment in deeds. And we have seen the distinction between commitment in words when you just sign a memorandum of understanding and all the good things are said, but when it comes to deeds, nothing happens. And these are simply, partnerships in name rather than in deeds. So the commitment is very important, and the commitment in this implies that partners must be prepared to invest both in their time and their resources to realize, the objectives and the goals that they have set together. And this is very, very important. And then, partnerships we gain by working together on common problems, on common identified. I think Mr. Hammer emphasizes this: a global impact is not only from the north to the south, but from the south to the north. Are quite a lot of things that we can do together and actually enhance global impact in higher education, in the 3 missions of higher education, teaching, research, and community together. And we learn a lot by doing together. I'm sure we have learned a lot, from the 5 projects, and I'm sure the partner Finnish institutions have also learned a lot. And in this way, we build up a cumulative, incrementally, our expertise, our experience, and in that way, we incrementally also build our capacity to do the things that we want to do in a more effective and more efficient and more, goal-oriented manners. Now, I think before any party commits itself to collaborative activities, there are certain things that needs to be considered. And these things have to be considered right at the beginning when the projects are being formulated. This is a very critical factor. And unless, this beginning work or starting work is not done correctly, misunderstandings may arise as you proceed in the implementation, and that would very much adversely affect the overall performance and achievement of the project. And therefore, first, a partnership activity ought to be a two-way relationship between parts. This is always something that we emphasize. Partnership is reciprocal. When we say we are doing together, it means we are combining our expertise, we are combining our skills, we are combining our knowledge, and we are combining our resources to do things together. This is particularly an important point from the Eritrean side. Now, always in our partnership, improvement of the quality of services holds center stage. The three missions, as I said, we want to provide quality education, we want to provide, to do quality research, and we want to give quality community services. And therefore, quality and relevance are very important core strategic principles on which to try to anchor our relationships. The partnership must be developed through mutual planning and development so that there is mutual ownership of those projects. Unless there is mutual planning, unless there is mutual, development of the joint projects, if somebody develops it and tries to impose it, on the other side, most of the time this will not be acceptable, at least, from what we actually do in Eritrea is that we try to identify our gaps, we try to identify our problems, and then we invite our partners to assist us, in those identified priorities rather than the other way around. We understand that partnership has also its own challenges, and we have met many challenges, but the way the challenges have to be handled is also critically important. One of the factors that contributes to the success or failure of such projects is how the challenges are addressed by both parties, and we'll come to that later on. And most importantly, from the very beginning, any entity that commits itself to partnership must understand what that partnership requires and what that partnership entails. And as far as we know, our partnership, from our experience, partnership entails the sharing of works, the sharing of benefits, the sharing of risks, the sharing of resources, the sharing of decision making, and the sharing of responsibilities. It's not, where you leave everything to one party and say, okay, this is your job, you do it, I don't care. I have done my job. But this is not something, there has to be a sharing of all this right from the beginning up to the end. It's only when these things are properly shared and when each party does, it is shared along the timeline set in that project that ultimately, we achieve our goals. Now, from our side, we have been using partnership for different purposes, but why do we need partnership, and why do we trust, why do we value partnership? Some of the points that I want to raise is we use partnership essentially to build our research and teaching capacity when it comes, to the institutions of higher education. So partnership is one important, capacity building mechanism, and this is reflected mostly in the strategic plans of the institutions of higher education. We use partnership to develop new academic programs, generally in the postgraduate programs, particularly where we might share, curricula, experience, and so on and so forth, but sometimes also in the undergraduate programs. So we bring in our partners, to look at the kind of curricula that we want to develop. And this is one way of maintaining the quality of the curriculum and making sure that the academic programs we open are on par, with the international standards. So we use it more or less as a quality assurance mechanism. We use it to enhance the quality of teaching and research through upgrading of different programs, curricula sharing, as I have said. And we also use partnership to get access to research and educational resources. We have had quite a lot of, not quite a lot, but we have had some research collaboration ventures. And what we do is that sometimes, in the science field, we may take samples in Eritrea and send them to our partner laboratories where the analysis will be done, and then this is brought back to us, and therefore we somehow in this manner overcome the problems and the research infrastructure that we have. We use them to facilitate the exchange of faculty and students and promote also cultural understanding. The exchanges that take place are not purely academic, but we see them also as building the cultural diversity basis of our research, and we also use them some way to facilitate the sabbatical and research liaison. So from our experience, what have been the critical factors for the success of linkage partnerships? And the first case is that we have to have meaningful vision, mission, goals, and objectives that are shared by all parties involved in the partnership. This is very important. Unless we have commonality in vision, in mission, and in objectives and goals, then it will be very difficult to work together, and the partnership will not have any sense of direction in which it should move. Commitment, as I have said, is very important. Commitment of resource, commitment of knowledge, commitment of time, and so on is very important. So mutual respect is very important. Good understanding, communication, effective communication is very, very important. We have seen where actually projects fail for lack of communication, and therefore effective communication strategy from the very beginning is very, very important. And of course we have to have mutual trust on what exactly we do, and this is very important. There has to be fair distribution of obligations, responsibilities, and resources. This is also very important, where once commitments are made in this, then the parties must fulfill their pledges. And from the very beginning, the partnership must be conceptualized as a win-win game. It's not where one party receives all the benefits and the other doesn't. But if we look at it as a win-win in different ways, then it's mostly success. Managing the program is very important. Providing guidance and monitoring performance is very important. Most important is the clarity of roles and responsibilities of all involved. From the very beginning, who will do what and when has to be clearly stated. And this has to be reflected, in the project document, in the implementation plan. If there is a very good implementation plan, this is likely to be part of the project document, but if the implementation plan is not done correctly, we are likely to have gaps in this area, and that may create, some problems, and the performance might not be. Most important in our case, as I have tried to emphasize properly, is that there has to be properly identified priorities. In our case, in the Eritrean case, as Mr. Havisto has tried to emphasize, what we do is we identify our priorities, we identify our gaps, our weakness, and then we invite our partners, to work with us in those areas. And this is the fundamental principle and the fundamental approach that we find. And we have seen problems where this has not been followed, and when partners come with some projects, and then when we try to implement them, then there will be some problems because it has not been considered in this way. It doesn't fit our priorities, and this creates, some problems. So the ability to avoid or resolve disputes amicably is very important. Yes, as I have said, implementing projects is quite a challenging task, particularly when two or more entities or parties are involved, because they have their own, perspectives, their own views, their own expertise. Differences are likely to arise. But how do we resolve whenever such problems arise is very important. Our strategy is resolve them in a very amicable way. And there has to be a lot of understanding and, as I said, mutual trust when we sit together and resolve, whatsoever challenges arise. And that's very important. Transparent and accountability is very important. What resources are available, how those resources are used, who used those resources, or those resources used in line with the project mission. And this is also very important. And transparency, accountability is also the core principle, not only for our institutions of higher education, but this is something that is highly emphasized, at the national level. The good plan of implementation, as I said, this is very critical. Unless we have, detailed plan of implementation, then we are bound to steer perhaps sometimes, the project in a different direction, and at the end, when you try to match whether the goals, the stated objectives have been achieved or not, you will see a gap. So a very good plan of implementation that is congruent with the project objectives, project mission, and project vision is very important. So these are some of the critical factors that we have identified, not from our experience, and we take this, as somehow as safeguards whenever new projects are, projects. So thank you for your attention, and now I will leave the stage to Sini to continue the presentation.
Dear Professor Zemenfes, thank you. Thank you for these reflections. So I'm Sini. I work at EDUFI with the program management of Eritrean HEI ICI program, and in the following I will try to shortly reflect on the success factors of Eritrean HEI ICI program from program management's perspective, because it has been really a unique program and experience also for us. We have learned a lot. And now we try to reflect on how to use this experience, if it provides a model also for other initiatives in the future, and what can we learn from this experience. As you have heard, there has been 5 projects selected, around 2.5 million euros used, and in 3 years the project have been implementing their activities. It has been very, very successful experience, as you have heard already. We have very concrete results that the projects will then present you during this day. So I will not go into detailed activities that have been implemented in this project. You will hear from the projects themselves soon. But I will try to reflect on what were the program level success factors. So as you heard already from the previous speakers, the project was selected in 2015, but there was a lot of work before the call could be launched. There was, as Annika mentioned, the preparatory visit of Finnish higher education institutions to Eritrea in 2014. To meet with the colleagues, to discuss the needs, to find partners that would fit to this program. There were many negotiations, meetings between national structures, governmental agencies, ministries. So there was a lot of preparatory work taking place jointly. And then the program was developed jointly as well. The priorities were set in collaboration, based, of course, on Finnish development policy and the Eritrean national development strategy. There also need analysis took place to find out the priorities that would fit to this program and serve the goals best. And priorities selected were human resources development and institutional capacity development. The program was designed together and the call was launched in 2015. The evaluation was also done in joint collaboration between the Eritrean and Finnish partners, and the selection was made together. And the 5 projects were then selected. So I would argue that the first success factor is actually the joint preparation and design of the program and setting the priorities together. The collaboration continued in close collaboration structure. So there was also joint management structure of the program. So Ministry for Foreign Affairs, both from Finland and from Eritrea, took part in these management efforts. We had our national structures, so EDUFI from Finland's side, and National Higher Education and Research Institute from Eritrean side. And then we had the 5 projects, and this forms the program board that met altogether 3 times in a formal meeting with all stakeholders at the same table, discussing relevant issues in program management, national legislation, any challenges encountered. We discussed the implementation of the projects, and if there were any overlaps that could be solved directly. And what is important here is that as we had all the stakeholders at the same table in these meetings, we could solve the issues straight away. So and we can ensure that all are on the same page about the activities, the communication works, and we managed the program management was done jointly. And the other stakeholders included different ministries. Ministry of Education of Eritrea has been closely participating in the program management, of course, and then also NGOs, especially Finchurch Aid, has been an important stakeholder here. So the second success factor would be the joint management structure. So what has been achieved? I mentioned that the project will explain you themselves what has been taking place in each of the projects. But just to give a brief overview of what has been achieved. In these 5 projects, the results include upgraded equipment and facilities at the higher education institutions in Eritrea, refurbished laboratories, computer classes, and a learning environment called EdTech Lab at the EIT, Eritrea Institute of Technology. You will learn more soon. Curriculum has been upgraded, and completely new master program has been created. The access to learning resources has been increased by digitalizing and automizing the library services, upgrading intranet services, and providing additional learning materials. Teaching has been improved by providing pedagogical training on pedagogical skills, and by having joint research activities. The ELFA project produced a book as a result of the first first stage of ELFA project. So these results are very concrete, very impressive when you think about that some of the projects were 2.5 years, and also that this is the first collaboration between Finland and Eritrea in higher education level. So these are very, very impressive results, and I think that the project should be proud of these results. But when we then think about the impact that we are looking for with this program, we can judge it in the years to come. Of course, the program level impact might not be fully visible yet, but these were the factors that were identified as the desired impact of the program. Human capacity development, improved learning outcomes, graduates with more relevant skills for the labor market and for the society, and to improve the access to higher education. So I would say that when we think about the results that have been achieved in these 5 projects, we can already argue that this development is well underway, even though the final judgment can be done in the years to come. But with this impact, the program will then support the contribution of higher education to the development of the Eritrean society. So, to recap what has been said, the lessons learned or the success factors of this program include joint design and priority setting. This ensures commitment from both sides, mutual ownership, also mutual learning, and builds trust between the partners on all levels. Joint coordination and management ensures fluent communication between the partners, ensures complementarity of the activities that are taking place. We can find flexible solutions to any challenges encountered and ensure support of all levels involved. And with these connections and networks that have been created through this program between different stakeholders, higher education institutions, national structures, ministries, all levels, I think that there is a very good foundation for future cooperation, whatever the program might be called, or whatever the program is that will continue the activities. I think that the foundation is very strong. With these words, I'm ending my presentation, and I just want to thank you for being at EDUFI. We are so happy to host you here. So thank you very much.